Hello, hello. It is time for another very busy workshop with lots of information, but we're going to have a good time. How is everyone doing? I saw you just got off with people from Snowflake, and it looks like it was a very cool workshop. I heard you just made an agent, just like that. So cool. Hello, hello. I see people jumping in on chat. We love that. Let me go ahead and take care of that banner. And again, if you haven't checked in, go ahead and check out that link. I will post it again in chat if you've just joined. I'm just making sure that any late joiners have made it past the ad breaks. Ready for Figma time. I love to see it. Thanks so much for being excited. I have two computers set up, so my paste was not the right paste originally, so I had to fix that really quick. Hello, hello. Oh, we've got a super hyped crowd today. This is a massive turnout. All right. Well, welcome back to Global Hack Week. This week is Cloud, but for today, we'll be talking about Figma. And Figma has wonderful benefits, especially for you as developers, as hackers, as people just interested in design, perhaps, or maybe you might be a little bit scared and you just want a way to get started without all the like, do I really know what I'm doing? And the answer is no, no one does. Even I don't. So, oh, hello, we have some old friends back again. We love it. Okay. Well, by this point, folks have made it past the ad break. If you haven't checked in, check in now because I'm going to go ahead and move on. But again, I want to thank you for joining Figma to Code. We've been giving this now for, I think, 2 Global Hack Weeks. If you find that you're missing information or that you can't stay for long, make sure that you check out the recordings on YouTube. And if you happen to prefer a different coach or you find that maybe you want to see more people presenting this, again, check out that YouTube link for Major League Hacking so that way you can see past instances of our Figma workshop. Last time it was me and Wei, and I think this time for Global Hack Week Cloud, it'll be me and Ryan. One of them. Which one? That's for you to find out. So let's get started. So as for what you'll be doing today, you will be going over Figma Dev Mode. We'll give you some basics on Figma fundamentals, basically how you would use the app, and I will chime in with some design rules or thinking. So that way, if you are finding that you're wanting to get more into design or you want to have a different thought processy, I got you covered. And then we'll build a very quick project. I'll show you how it integrates into a full web page, and we'll bring it to life. So with that, what even is Figma? And the goal of Figma is to make design accessible for all. You can work with Figma Design, which is one of the things we'll be doing today, where it's an online multiplayer canvas, and it's really great for collaborative design, particularly for hackathon projects or even school projects. And because it's free and very popular, it makes it really easy to transfer your knowledge to whatever ends up being used at the company that you end up working at, or maybe you use it in your consulting work or at the company that you end up working at. Point is, plenty of opportunities. Again, the knowledge is transferable. There is past evidence of me learning Figma on stream about a year or 2 ago before we had this workshop. And I have some background in some other tools that made it actually very easy to understand Figma. But I'm here to make that easy for you, even if you've never used a design tool before. Then we have FigJam, if you're familiar with other things like Draw.io. FigJam is the prettier version, if you will. Also doing online multiplayer whiteboards, making sure that you can make your charts or plan ideas out. Again, great for a hackathon, and generally how you might want to visualize your ideas. And then we have Figma Slides, which I'm actually using today to give our presentation on Figma, which again is multiplayer. We love to see it, but it also gives you a lot more flexibility and more artful presentations, which can be very helpful. Again, hackathon presentations or classrooms or even a how to design with Figma workshop like this one. And then we have Dev Mode, which lets you export a lot of the things that you've designed in ways that may make it easier for you to start to learn back and forth. Now, I'm not aware that you can write code and then port it into Dev Mode or port it into Figma overall. However, it can go in reverse, and it is a good way for you to start seeing how people are writing things. And eventually, you'll be able to learn from that too. Today, we'll be using Figma Design and Dev Mode. We'll get you access to those things, making sure you can design to the best of your ability with all sorts of resources. But as for why learn Figma, like I said, it is becoming a standard tool. There are a lot of companies who use it, a lot of individuals use it, and the best part is it, again, is transferable knowledge. So if you find that you are using Figma or other tools, you'll find that there's a lot of like key commands that are similar or actions that are similar, which makes it very nice to get started, particularly as this is a little less overwhelming than some of the more popular tools, or not popular, that's the wrong word, some of the other tools out there, some of the older ones, let's say. Not necessarily popular. As for where you can get started, there are plenty of ways where if you do want to start from scratch, build your own design, you absolutely can. But if you find that you prefer to work on iOS or iPad or use Material 3 or even the Simple Design system, there are templates preloaded. So all you need to do is not fiddle with, oh, how do I recreate what I'm looking at on my phone to, hey, this is already there and I can already use it. So for example, if you are using the iOS template, you will be able to mimic things like the keyboard, showing how people interact with things, providing all the different components you'd need to follow Apple's design guidelines and deliver consistent experiences. There's also Material 3, same thing. You also get ready-made components, which will let you build user-friendly and modern apps, still mimicking Google's material design principles. I'm personally a fan as an Android user, although I do also have Apple products, so I'm also a fan of the Apple one, I guess. And then you have Simple Design System, which can be more broadly used outside of those specific operating systems, such as, let's say, you're making a website, a dashboard, a user interface, etc. That gives you those clean components that you may not be able to initially design on your own just yet. And as for why anyway, why not AI? Make sure that you think it's a skill for the future. I'll be honest, AI does work with context, but not in the same way that humans work with context. So as a result, you have complete control of your design. You can tailor your designs and build everything that you need without being influenced by AI, which may not necessarily have the full human in mind. So gaining design experience just is generally pretty helpful. It also may help you communicate with other folks who may not have design background but are very visual people, and vice versa. So designs do help. And as for where you can use Figma, the short version is just about everywhere, where you can use it in your web browser, on desktop and mobile. I haven't personally used it on mobile, but that is very impressive. You can also use it in the VS Code extension. Again, I haven't used the VS Code extension yet, though it is in my to-do list when I finally have time, whenever that is. But the point is, you can use it, again, anywhere. So maybe even your iPad. And as for getting access to dev mode, let's go ahead and get you started. If you go ahead to mlhlink/Figma, and I'll go ahead and put it in the chat, you can get access to the dev mode that will be helpful toward the end of this workshop. But it's good to have, particularly if you're working on understanding how design translates to web interfaces. Or mobile, I suppose. There's lots of opportunity. Possibilities are endless. It is terribly dreary out today for a very sunny place. You can't tell, but there's clouds today. Anyway, I'm giving you all some time to fill out your free Figma education plan while you get started. If you haven't downloaded Figma, you are more than welcome to, but again, there is web browser access. So if you'd like to work in the browser for this workshop, feel free. There is no pressure. Again, it is free, regardless of whether you apply for dev mode, presuming you are currently at an institution as a student educator or admin. And I think you should get immediate access, but feel free to drop a question in chat if you're stuck at any point or have any concerns that you'd like me to cover. And something I forgot to mention at the beginning of this workshop is I definitely encourage questions. I really love making sure folks leave with an understanding, because chances are someone who's watching this in the future may have a similar question, and so it may benefit them. Actually, this is a great time for me to catch up with chat. Y'all are busy. The YouTube channel link. I got you. I will go pull that up. If my computer stops being slow, I need to update it. Alrighty. So I believe there was a few people asking for the YouTube channel. 404. I love how helpful you are. It is very appreciated. And then for the deadline to complete today's challenge, actually, I'm not quite sure, but generally, some of them are time sensitive and some are not. Let me go ahead to our Global Hack Week website and pull that up. Challenges. Where is today's challenges? There we go. Learn more. I would say, sooner than later. Apply as soon as you can if it's available. But most of our challenges will have a deadline in the events.mlh.io link. So if you didn't get a chance to register, obviously it will be blurred out, but I would say register now. Doesn't hurt. Oh, wait. Those are for challenges. Some of the challenges are like registration challenges and some of them are like programming challenges. I think the programming challenges are usually you have till like the end of the week, in case you're asking about that. All right, folks. Yes, I can definitely see people chatting in both Twitch and YouTube, so no problem. And then any last questions, comments? Yeah, so we have a great example of why this workshop is here. Not everyone works with front end, so we'll get you started in thinking about how you might design a front end before you actually go about coding it. Like I said, yes, I can definitely view your comments. Please don't call me ma'am, it gives me the ick. I'm not that old yet. All right, let's keep going. By this point, you should have Figma either set up in your browser or you might have dev mode already set up and applied for. Like I said, we have lots to cover, so we'll go ahead and keep going. Oh no, I didn't want to go that far. Hang on. I did not wish to restart. All right, so let's go into design basics. When you open up Figma, it looks a little bit crowded, and in fact, it might even be a bit busy for you if you're not familiar with any design tools. However, the basic understanding that you should have is that you're going to have a toolbar on the bottom, sidebars on either side, and then a canvas overall behind everything. Now, if you're familiar with the word canvas, you might know, well, I think that's what I'm going to draw on, and you would be absolutely correct. The toolbar will have key tools that you'll be using throughout your design adventure, and the sidebars will have various properties or options or things that you might fiddle with overall, depending on the scope. Now, this is a very vague overview on purpose because we will manually go through each piece. Now, again, the canvas is your working area, so you can use your mouse, a trackpad to scroll and move around. And if you are familiar with other design tools or video games, particularly with map interfaces, a lot of this is still somewhat intuitive in order to interact with it. And so it will come a little more naturally as you use it. And again, these are transferable skills. So if you do end up in a company where they may not necessarily use Figma, most of these features are fairly similar. And yeah, so unfortunately, dev mode is for those who are in academia. So if you are currently not a student, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. But you are welcome to still use Figma for free, as 404 is absolutely correct. You can still use Figma, you just won't have access to dev mode, unfortunately. All right, so continuing on, like I said, there is the canvas where you are able to interact with everything that you end up putting down. Then you have the toolbar, like I said, which will have your most popular things that you'll use. So the ones that we'll actually be using are going to be this move tool, which you can see my mouse moving around it. As you can see, it has a similar cursor to the mouse, which is very helpful. You have frames, which are ways to contain the different groups of objects you might be working with, different from layers. We'll talk about that later. Shape, which you can use to create various shapes. The default, of course, is a rectangle, but you can create circles and various other shapes. And of course, the like squares. Point is, as long as you can adjust the shape, you will probably be able to make any four-sided or curved shape. And I do believe you can actually create a custom polygon, but I could be wrong. We'll test that out in a moment. And then, of course, the text box, which has that lovely fonted T. But there are obviously many other things you can do with it, such as creating custom shapes using the pen, which you'll learn about vector shapes perhaps at another time. But if someone asks me later, I'm more than happy to talk about that. And then when you're collaborating, you might create annotations and actions to do any plugins. Now, I personally don't have any experience with our plugins, but I do know other coaches who are running this workshop absolutely do. So feel free to ask them later on. And then for dev mode, this is something that is only accessible to those who have paid for Figma or have, again, Figma education, which would give them access to dev mode, which is where you can export some of the content. And then we have the left sidebar. So when you're looking at things, this will be more of like your top level way of interacting with your overall project. So it will have things like your file name, your overview of all the components that you've put on the canvas. It will also have layers, which is how you can arrange things, and pages, which is more of a way to have different documents. And so some of this language is, again, very transferable and similar, and some language not so much. Pages are not very common in other tools, but layers are synonymous everywhere. And then the right sidebar is going to be where you access properties to change individual components depending on what you've selected. Anything you've selected, with the exception of the leftmost toolbar, can be changed, or the left sidebar and the toolbar, I'm sorry. Anything on the canvas otherwise can be adjusted with the properties bar on the right side. So not only can you change the design as far as the colors, the borders, the orientation, the justification, the text font, the size, etc. You name it, you can probably change it. All right. And like I said, there are plenty of things we are not covering in this workshop today, but I want to make sure that you still have access to things later on. So go ahead and check out mlh.link/Figma resources so that way you can try out more. Now, for us, let's get into the fundamentals of design with Figma as our tool to help us out. To understand the basics, we'll give you a very quick UI card project. Now, if you're not familiar with what a UI card might be, think of those times where you've seen things rotating on a website, that you might see a preview and then it rotates and you have another preview of something business card-like, or like a Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh card, like a trading card game. And so these cards are going to be something that's a very quick and preview-like way of interacting with things. And there are different spots in which you might use a UI card design. That can be on a web page, introducing people on your organizing team, or introducing members of your company. You might also use it to present a quick overview of your project, so that way people might click to find out more. Or you could do recipe cards where it's a quick preview. There are so many ways that people use UI cards, and so what better way than to introduce you to how to make one of your own. So, like I said, if you have Figma open, whether downloaded or through a browser or through Visual Studio Code or otherwise, go ahead and pull that up. We're going to start off by creating a text box. I'm going to really quickly check on chat, answer any questions coming in, and then we'll switch over on my shared screen to show you how to do these things live. Alrighty, really quick. You would be getting the starter account, or at least the free account. No need to pay unless you are not currently a student or in academia. And yes, absolutely, you are right. You can design all sorts of things like 404 said, but you also have access to templates for iOS and Android, as well as Figma's own templates to create more accessible components and design out there. Makes it a little easier not having to reinvent the wheel personally. And in order to do this, please follow the link mlh.link/Figma. I believe it is Figma. I posted it. Where did I post it? Yes, mlh.link/Figma. Alrighty, lots of questions, but like I said, I wanted to get you all started. So if you already created that text box and typed in your title, the next step is that we're going to go ahead and add a rectangle shape above. Now you might be wondering about the T or the R next to it. Those are keyboard commands. And so as you get more familiar with design, as with any program, as I'm sure if you're aware with Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ or any IDE, there are keyboard commands or binded shortcuts that you can use to make things faster. So these shortcuts may help you out, but I will also show you how to interact with the context menus as well, that you might right-click to access, or double-click, I think, if you're on, or like 2-tap click for Macs. And then after you create that rectangle shape, again, size isn't too critical, or color here yet. We are going to get into it. You'll go ahead and add a quick description. Now in this UI card tutorial, it's actually creating various like news article cards, or like quick little blog or points of note in your portfolio. And so again, I'm speeding through a couple things so that way I can go ahead and speedily show you things, so I'm not swapping too often between computers. But again, you're going to add a quick description. showcasing that aspect of how you will showcase these cards. They will eventually, so I should preface, my background is in print design, and so I often design outside in. This is because it's a miniaturized project, is designing inside out. So while I don't agree with this, that's okay. That's the beauty of design. You can do it any way you like. If you prefer to start from the outside in, where you start with the overall container and work your way in, that is absolutely valid. And if you instead prefer to design individual components at a time, much like this project, you can also do that. Or maybe you want to start with like, oh, I only have the text, or I only have outlines. There are many different starting points in your design adventure. So as a result, I would say do what makes sense for you after you have learned all the things, or not all the things. You've learned enough to realize what you need to do to make what's in your head or in your drawings become something that you can visualize. All right, so we've entered some of the hard points. I'll go ahead and swap over to my desktop or to my laptop, but you will be adding an image to a rectangle. And so last time I did this stream, someone asked about inserting GIFs. So I did actually get that sorted out so that way I could show it on this stream, showing that we learned from our past streams. But let's go ahead and share that really quick. Okay, so we are currently now on my laptop instance of Figma, and it is an empty instance. So we're going to go ahead and follow along with that tutorial. Let me just go pull it up on my desktop, my laptop, because I didn't pull it up. Alrighty, so as you can see, we have our left side, which is our way of interacting with file properties. We have our right side, which can interact with the properties of individual objects that we select. And then we have our toolbar on the bottom. And so following along with the steps, I'm going to hit T, or I would go down here and click this on the toolbar. And I'll go ahead and type in my first hackathon, because maybe I want to showcase a couple different blog posts about what hackathons I've been to. And so my first hackathon is a very popular title, but I think it's very indicative of the start of the hackathon journey. It is, in fact, a blank screen. Oh, no. Oh, I see. There was a bug. Thank you, chat. All right, let's try this again. No. All right, can you see it now? I have Twitch open up in case it doesn't work. That's annoying. Let's go ahead and try again. I was warned about this, so I'm sad. Let's see. Oh, weird. It's just not working. Whoa. I even restarted it. Oh my goodness. Okay, hang on. We have options. I prepared for this. What the heck? I'm not kidding about having issues. Oh, Chrome is crashing on StreamYard. Hang on. Wow. We were doing so good, and then we weren't. Oh, no. Huh. That is unfortunate. Yeah, StreamYard's crashing. Oh, StreamYard's back, but it's not working. Great. Let us see if I can present a different screen. Entire screen. Fascinating. It doesn't like my laptop. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. We will have to do some magic. This is not what I wanted. Unfortunate. Okay, well, we will do gross things instead. Okay. Let's see. Go to home, create new. Yay. Okay, so right then. We'll just do it this way. It'll be fine. Okay, so what I did is on the bottom, I clicked the text on the toolbar, or I can type T on my keyboard to insert some text. And so I've typed in my first hackathon, following along with the description here. Now, if I'm working through things and I'm like, hey, this canvas is actually too dark for me, I can actually change the color of the canvas at any given moment. I can turn it darker, I can make it red, I can change the color in the background. Maybe I want it to be purple. There are all sorts of ways that you can interact with your canvas such that you will be able to, oh no, no. This is aggressively annoying. Oh my goodness. What the heck? And of course now Twitch is giving me an ad. Okay. Great. We love it. Oh. Oh no, I'm sorry, chat. This is really annoying. Wow, it's just not. No. We were doing so good. Oh. Let's try that. Wow, it's just straight up not working. Okay. All right. Let's see if this is why we can't have nice things, folks. Creating a new media presentation of the screen. Let's see. We'll try this one more time. And then share screen. And then window. And then let's try that. Add to stitch. Well, nope. It's just straight up not working. Let us try something else. We're trying some different things in the background. Please hold. Ho, that worked. Okay, let's try going back to this. Come on, come on, come on, come on. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. No, interesting. Okay, what if I create a new one? Stop screen, share screen, window, share screen. I'm very intrigued that it shows an image, but not a screen. Okay, we'll just look at tacos for now. Watch that not work. Why does this image work? Oh dear. So Figma has worked in the past, but you know what? That's a good idea. Let us restart. let's see if I can get it to cooperate by just reopening it. Maybe if it thinks it's a brand new window, it will work. Oh boy, never a dull day. It's fine. I'm just very entertained. Alrighty, we've set that up. Present, share screen, share, add to stage. I believe in the taco dreams that it will not work. Okay. Okie dokie. That is really quite annoying. Let's remove from studio, stop screen, present, share screen. Oh, it's working. It's working. Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't know what magic I did, but we're gonna try something different for next stream because I have a stream in 30 minutes for Git. So we're gonna play games and hope for the best. All right, y'all. Now that we have entertained ourselves with technical difficulties, of which I have proven that I am a good engineer because I could solve it, unlike sometimes in class when teachers don't know how to work their projectors. All right, let's speedrun this a little bit. So I use the text bar on the bottom to click T. I added the first hackathon. If I type R or I click this box here, I can create a box. Lovely. I can move it around. I can reshape it with these little angles here. Yay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to this right sidebar, which I can't zoom in, unfortunately. And given the issues we have run into, I am so sorry that I cannot zoom in. I am scared. We're going to go ahead and click that little color block at the left. And then we're going to click this image. And so this is where you would upload an image from your computer. Now, we don't need to see all my files, but we are going to open up tacos because I'm really scared and maybe it's a Goodwill. Anyway, so our first hackathon involved great tacos. We're going to also add T for description and just do lorem ipsum. If you're not familiar with lorem ipsum, it is a false Latin filler text that is often used in design work when you don't have the exact text just yet. I cannot be bothered to write a description in under like 5 seconds, so we're going to use lorem ipsum. And of course, you can go through these properties here where you can change the text appearances, whether it's that you want to change the font, you can change how thick it is with different boldness. And this is something you would also see in web design where you might change the weight of a font. You can change the size of it. Let's say I don't want it to be 10 or 12. I want it to be super big, whatever. You can also change what the line height is. And so as you get into learning about design, you can figure out what you would prefer to use as you learn about kerning and baseline shifts and so on. And so you can also change the alignment if perhaps I want it center aligned, left line, I want it to be centered in the center of the box, on the bottom, etc. There are many places you can move it around. So again, we're going to leave it as lorem ipsum, blah, 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 blah. There are lorem ipsum generators out there if you decide to use an API, because maybe you're making a sample website that doesn't actually have text and you can't be bothered to think of punny things for it. Point is, we have lots of different descriptions, etc. And what we will next do is go ahead and continue with working on the presentation, because we're going to do questionable things where I have shared my whole screen just to ensure that I could present this, where you're going to add a frame. So if you come from other design tools, frame may not make sense to you. And frankly, there are times where it still doesn't quite make sense to me. By creating a frame, you can group objects or hold them together in a specific box, but you also will have a container that you can work with visually. So rather than it being a placeholder, it is also another form of rectangle. Now, if you're familiar with grouping, this looks like grouping commands, which it does to me, where I'm like, but it looks like groups. And so this is one way that you can interact with it. So we're going to go ahead and keep going, where after you do the grouping with frame, you would then use auto layout using Shift A. And so if you are not familiar or with key commands, or you're not in a place that you can do that, you can open up the context menu, which is your right quick click equivalent. Or if you're using a Mac, I believe it's a 2-tap click. I never remember because I just do it intuitively, but it's still like a right click to, anyway. Point is, you can use auto layout. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And then, wow, this is just not cooperating. Come on, do the thing. Goodness, this is, wow, is it, why are you not? Ugh, we are having technical difficulties to the max today. Okay, we will have to just be patient, and it will be as it will be. So remember what I was saying about grouping versus framing. Grouping is just putting objects together, whereas frames, again, allows you to work with different aspects to it visually. So you might be able to change the alignment, the stroke, which is how thick a border might be, or the weight of a font. And you can also change the border itself. So maybe the border doesn't have to be a straight line, but instead you want it to be a dashed line or dots, etc. And so you can change also the sharpness of the angles of each corner, where you can actually round them out. And so we're going to keep going if it will let me. Why is my arrow key not working? Goodness gracious. Okay. We are not allowed to have nice things, and it shows. And I will fight that to my best ability. So let's go ahead and follow through with what we just talked about, where we have this card that we want to work with. I've selected it using my mouse to drag. And again, if you do not have the ability to use Control-Shift-G or Command-Option-G or Control-Alt-G, which depending on if you're on a Windows with a Google Drive, it may tell you, would you like to open Google Drive desktop? And you'll have to disable that command. You can just use the right click on the selected objects, and you can use auto layout later, etc. But because we are using a frame, we'll just drag a frame around it. And we'll also change the frame background to be black. Let's actually make it brown to kind of match the tacos. Really make that image pop, right? So I've just drawn an arbitrary frame around it because I didn't want to use the keyboard command, because again, it's not always accessible for some folks, or it may be depending on what's going on. But the thing that I wanted to again show you is that if I select everything, I can go ahead and Shift A to use auto layout. So as you saw, it auto shaped things. It centered things for me. That's great. I could add styling to the frame itself. By going to the stroke, I could say, oh, I want a white border, and I want the weight to be 1.5 instead of just 1. Maybe I want the position to be in the center. And as you can see, it changes where this ends up. We love the preview. And then as for what else that I wanted to do, I'm trying to remember. I want to add a corner radius, which I always forget where in this it is. I believe, where is it? Yes, so if I go to advanced stroke settings, I can change whether it's dashed or solid. I can change the type of join that it has. Where else am I looking? The thing is, I can't see my notes, so I can't actually show everybody things, because I'm like, yes, I use that as a cheat sheet. But now that we have technical difficulties, I don't know what's going on. You can add drop shadows if you wanted to see that little shadow on the bottom, which we don't want. But the point is, there are many, 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 many options that you can do, which is nice. We love that. Where am I looking for this thing? Custom. You can also change what border exists and what don't, particularly if you want to do like only side borders or only bottom and top, whatever it is that you want to do. And then, there it is. So appearance is what's going to hold your corner radius. You can also change the transparency, opacity of the border. Let's say I only want it to be 5% of the overall opacity. But again, corner radius is what we're working with. I personally like a good 15 because it makes it very nicely round, looks like a coaster almost. Some folks will use something like 5 just to, again, preserve those corners, make sure that it's not overlapping into the image like it was originally. We can also change the corner radius on this. So look, everything is now matching in those angles. So as far as a design thinking or design process, keep things consistent. So you'll see that right now it's not easy to tell if you look at this Well, what's the title? Well, logically, it will probably be the thing on the top, but there's no easy way of determining what's actually the title and what's part of the description. And so one way to change that is to change the font size. You can also change the font itself. It is, however, recommended that you limit yourself to no more than 3 fonts for consistency's sake and to avoid any confusion. By the same token, rule of thirds, rule of threes, etc., you'll also want to do the same thing with your font sizes. So you might have your title size, which will be your first size. You'll have your otherwise section titles, which will be a second size, and your descriptions and anything that tends to follow underneath that be a consistent size, and so on. All right. Okay. We have sped through that. We did some basic alignment stuff. Like I said, we are rolling through this as fast as can because technical difficulties ate our time. We're going to go ahead and create a large frame, again, typing F if we want to use it, or we can drag it ourselves. This thing is not working again, and I really hate this. Wow. I just want you to cooperate. You're going to go ahead and use auto layout again, and then you're going to change where the alignment is because that will affect how we auto lay things out later. So at this instance, it's choosing the top left layout so that way things are automatically aligned to the left. And we want it to be the object within that frame, not the things within the frame we created previously. We'll adjust the padding and spacing, where padding is going to be the space inside an object. So if you're familiar with margins when you work with Word docs or Google Docs, and back in the day when you had to print things, margin is important to force things inward or outward, depending on how you're working with things. Margin doesn't actually mean the same thing in Word that it does in design. So if you're looking at, let's say, this box, if you were to add margin to this box, it forces everything away from it outside of this box. But when you actually look at the content, or you look at the content inside, it won't be affected unless you change the padding. So padding is on the inside of your container of what you're working with, and margin is on the outside, affecting things on the outside. Now, you can do negative padding and negative margin. That is for you to figure out on your own and experiment with, but the point is, padding gives you this space on the inside. So as you can see, all these are nicely spaced away from each other within this frame because of padding. So let's go ahead and go do that. Now, again, I sped through that because, again, we are running out of time. However, let's go ahead and do that where I'm going to add a frame that is here. And so, again, remember that frame is going to give us some background. So if we don't like it, we can change it. But we are going to go ahead and select everything, use Shift Auto Layout, and right now it's going to give us that auto spacing around this. But we also want to make sure that we take that frame and make sure that this alignment is fine as it is, but we could change it to be centered. It could be on the bottom left, etc. if we wanted. What we really want to do is select that outer frame and make sure that that outer frame is at the top left alignment through the auto layout section. Because what we're next going to do is copy frame 1's content and paste it. And as you can see, now we're starting to have multiple things, which is very nice if you'd like to make multiple versions of a card. And so this is important, particularly if you have, let's say, a number of organizers or a number of projects or a number of blog posts, however you want to do it. And if I wanted to resize this, I can, and it will auto change the layout for me once I fix it, which I have forgotten to do. So with auto layout, let's see, this is aligned to the top left. I need to add padding. I think it was something like 60, 64, I think. Again, I'm working off no notes right now. So we are dealing with my vague design practices that I'm like, sure, that'll work, probably. So it's currently not adjusting this, which I can't remember how to fix right now. Ah, that's right. So in the auto layout, you have direction plus gap. Currently, everything is just going straight to the right. We could also change this so that it always goes down, which, as you can see, it goes right off the page. And as an alternative, we can always have things wrap, which is what I was trying to show you that I didn't select. But now you can have things auto size, which is great for if you are doing development for web design and mobile. Now, if you're not familiar with how to approach web design with that regard, where you want to consider accessible and responsive design, then you want to have a mobile first approach. That's the most common thing that designers do these days for web design and mobile design, where they will first design for mobile, and then they will gradually make designs for bigger and bigger screens. So you'll have a mobile version where it's a very long, normally like iPhone width kind of long version of your website or your mobile app or however it is that you're working with something. Then you will have your iPad tablet size, which will be slightly bigger, but definitely less than average monitor size. I think it's like 768 pixels or something like that. And then you will have your overall larger size, which will be like at this point, even if you have an ultra wide monitor, this is what it will look like, even if it's very spaced out or something like that. So you would choose to do 3 types of design, but to showcase your website at different widths, and that is responsive design. Okay. We did the auto layout. We did a version of this. I did not get to teach you the design stuff that I wanted you to, but again, I want you to walk away with 3 key things. The first being that your design process is very much for you. If you prefer to do constraint-based, where you work from outward inward, that is very valid. If you prefer to work on components, that's okay, where you work on each individual piece and then you put it all together in your overall design. And then there's also looking at how others design things based on the device that you'd like to work on. So if you're working on mobile apps, you would work on like mobile design. If you want to do web design that's still responsive and friendly, you would do mobile first design, where you would build for a mobile website and then tablet and then web page. The point is, you will figure out what works best for you depending on the project. The second thing is that design is not scary, and there are a few key rules to keep in mind with design, which is how you work on balance, on spacing, on font choices, rule of threes, etc. So I would encourage you to go look at those things and see how you can best understand those rules. Once you understand those rules, then you can break them on purpose to make even more impactful design, kind of like artistry. It's very against engineering, where engineering is like, you must follow the rules all the time. But you have to know the rules so well that when you break them, it's amazing. And so you'll see that a lot in art, in fashion, in design, etc. Even in writing, where people will or music, if you're familiar with that. Like one example I can think of is like once you learn the chords, you have a really good understanding of how things flow in harmony. But then if you turn to jazz, they use discordant chords where things are like off because they're purposely breaking chord rules to make that sound that they make that makes it jazzy. So lots of fun stuff that you can do. And then the third thing is have fun. If you're making a design that you don't like, then you're not having fun. So making sure that you're having fun really ensures that it is not going to burn you out, that you're not going to feel bad about it. But that, again, you make sure that you prioritize that this is a learning opportunity and there's different ways people present things. So 3 things, again, design as you will, learn the rules of design, and then learn how to break them for yourself, and then have fun. Okay, so we did the UI card project tumultuously. We will now go to dev mode, if it will let me. Goodness gracious, what the? Okay, so let's say I wanted to port this whole thing to a web page. I'm ready to take a look at what I want to see in a web page. I don't have, these are all placeholder text and imagery and whatnot, but I know the shape of what I want these cards to look like in my website. So we're going to see if I can open up Visual Studio Code without it screaming at me. Open a new window. Please, please, don't break. Don't break. Please don't break. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so I have opened up Visual Studio Code because I want to very briefly show you a preview of something where if you type in, I believe it's, what is it? There's a shortcut that I knew last week. No, okay, wait, hang on. I did this last week. Or not last week, last month. This is going to be index.html. Yes, go ahead and replace it because I know what that is. Okay, so I've made a new index.html file. There is a shortcut, this emmet abbreviation. That's why it didn't work, because it wasn't an HTML file, it was a plain text. You can get all of your HTML stuff already created for you, which will ensure that when you do port your dev mode stuff in, that it will work. So I've just gone ahead and hit enter after entering that exclamation point, and it fills in the bare minimum of some HTML code for me. Now, the reason I did this is in preparation for dev mode, where we want to select this specific component. We're going to go ahead and turn on dev mode, if it will work. And so as you can see, it's showing me all sorts of fun little stuff like the border, the padding. Remember, padding is on the inside, and nothing about the margin, which is on the outside. It also shows me what the colors are, the hex codes, and the assets that I have. It tells me more about these. Something else to consider for design, always name this name your stuff, because now which frame 1, 2, 3, which frames am I looking at? If I copy this elsewhere, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Always label your stuff. It will help you in the future. Anyway, so there's dev resources that you can add, like links and references and whatnot. Whoops-a-daisy. There are extensions you can add. There are plugins you can add. As you can see, the most recent one I have is Figma to Code, which is one of the benefits of Figma Dev Mode, is that you can, again, use this to generate the code that you want. So right now, let's say I want to look at the properties. Right now, this is all fixed. This is telling me what position in the X and Y axis. Where is the border element? That should have been in this. The other one was in the center. It tells me the padding, the gaps, the like fixed width and everything. Notice that this is not responsive design. So this is static. This will not change as you resize a window. Something to keep in mind. That's something you would change later, but you would have the gist of what's going on, that you could at least showcase something. Okay. So if I go to code, I can change what this is giving me. So if you prefer to do things in a Swift UI format, I can generate the code and it will show me it somewhere that it is not currently showing me. Come on. Come on. Why are you not showing me it? I can also open it in VS Code. That's pretty neat. Oh, Mark is ready for dev. Show me code. Why are you not? What am I missing? Wow. Again, technical difficulties is just. Oof. I think my stuff is broken, actually. So what's missing here is it should actually be showing me some code down here, but it's only showing me colors, which that's really annoying, actually. Okay, we're just. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. We're running out of time anyway. All right. The point is, you would have been able to see a preview of code if it was going to work, such that you would be able to copy paste the CSS, you would be able to copy paste the HTML and have it formatted in the way that you want. So obviously it's not working for me right now, on top of everything else. We love that, but that's okay. But as you can see, like I said, the layout would have had the display flex with 350 pixels, etc. It would have helped me out. Oh my goodness, it is not. Okay. And so again, if I had gone to code, again, properties showed me all the information about it, but code didn't quite work. You can choose, again, what I showed you between the different types of development environments or code that you're working with. Oh my goodness. Why are you not working? So again, you can see the HTML here where it's adding in classes, or at least it's adding in Tailwind. What's it called? Whatever they use. I actually haven't used Tailwind. But the point is, you have all sorts of options available to you and more from the plugins. And you can change what you're looking at. So what we would have done is that we actually would have copied this code output, and I would have pasted it into this index file, and it would have rendered almost everything except for the pictures, because I didn't have the picture imported into this index.html section. But you'd be able to see all that stuff. And then once you save it, again, you would again be able to see your image replacement. You wouldn't actually see the image itself. You'd see the content, the things that you'd made, and of course your border, etc. that you've made. And voila. So that is pretty much it for Figma design. I really appreciate everyone's patience in the technical difficulties. I have a plan for the next stream in like 3 minutes. I actually need to make a really quick announcement because we have another stream coming up. If it will cooperate. Geez, my poor desktop. Where, again, you can try it in VS Code. You can try all sorts of different things. And before you jump off, there is a survey we would really love for you to do. This is different from the Global Hack Week survey that we have been doing, but I would really appreciate if you went ahead and went to mlh.link/Figma-survey, or use the QR code here to go ahead and give some feedback on this workshop. Now, I know we did have to modify a lot. Given the technical difficulties, we steamrolled through a bunch of things, but I do want to encourage that if you are stuck, if I did move too fast, that you definitely check out our recordings from past instances. We did this last Global Hack Week, and there will be another stream, I believe, later this evening / early this morning, depending on your time zone, where there will be another MLHer giving this workshop. Hopefully by then we will have figured out all of our technical difficulties, and you will have a much more comprehensive presentation. But I really appreciate your patience. Go ahead and fill out that survey. I'm going to go ahead and add that link to the chat, which I typoed on. We're doing our best today. There we go. That's the correct link. Go ahead and check that out, so that way we can get some feedback. And if you are interested in sticking around, there is a Get Good with Git workshop where I will be better prepared because we now know how to deal with this, where we will go ahead and jump into how to do Git and how to manage branching and a variety of other lovely things you could run into. So if you are scared of the terminal, don't worry, I got you covered. And Windows, please, I just need you to work. And if you want to stay on, I will answer the questions in the following workshop, but I don't see too much just yet. Yes, they're recorded. Quackish and Cheese, thank you so much for sharing that link. And as for Figma getting started, check out the recordings and they will get you through everything, although maybe not this recording because technical difficulties. The Git stream is literally right after this. I'm going to close up this stream and then we're going to hop on and start Git. So literally right now, like hang tight. Give me like 2 minutes. All right, see y'all in like 2 minutes.